the discovery of a 9 meters tunnel and 2 meters and 10 centimeters wide, found behind the main entrance of the Great Pyramid.
Imagine a mountain of 6 million tons of stone, standing untouched for 4,500 years. Every tunnel mapped, every chamber named. Or so we thought. Then something from deep space stepped in, using cosmic ray muons, particles that pass through solid rock like it's smoke. Scientists have just exposed a hidden ghost blueprint inside the Great Pyramid. A void the size of a jetliner wasn't the end, it was the beginning.
They were tuned to vibrate with the frequencies of the Earth, and they converted the energies of the Earth into electromagnetic energy.
Now, a sealed 30-meter corridor has surfaced in the data. What are they hiding in plain sight? And more importantly, why was it hidden this way? But before we reach that sealed door, how did we scan solid stone without touching a single block? The 747 in the stone, the 2017 breakthrough. In 2017, the world of archaeology didn't just shift quietly, it cracked wide open. A team of physicists and engineers working on the Scan Pyramids project revealed something no one was prepared for. Hidden deep inside the Great Pyramid, right above the Grand Gallery, was a massive empty space stretching at least 30 meters long. This wasn't damage, this wasn't erosion, this was design. Think about what that means for a second. For centuries, people tried to break into this structure using brute force. Back in the 9th century, Al-Mamun smashed his way through solid limestone, hoping to stumble into hidden chambers. Later, explorers drilled, mapped, guessed, and still somehow missed the largest void in the entire pyramid. Not because it was invisible, but because we were looking the wrong way. We were using human eyes, in a structure that required cosmic ones. That's where the Scan Pyramids project changed everything. Instead of breaking stones, they let the universe do the work. They placed highly sensitive detectors inside the Queen's chamber. And these weren't ordinary devices. Some used nuclear emulsion films, working like old photographic film, quietly capturing invisible particles over time. Now here's where it gets wild. Space is constantly raining down tiny particles called muons. These are created when cosmic rays hit Earth's atmosphere at extreme speeds. They pass through your body, through buildings, through mountains, and straight through the Great Pyramid. But they don't pass through everything equally. Dense stone slows them down. Thick rock absorbs them. Empty space lets more of them pass through. So when scientists checked the detectors, they weren't just looking for particles, they were looking for patterns. And what they saw didn't make sense at first. There were too many muons coming through one specific area. Like something inside the pyramid wasn't there when it should have been. That missing mass became known as the Big Void. And here's the part that made researchers pause. The shape of this void wasn't random. It appeared to mirror the Grand Gallery below it, almost like a hidden twin running parallel inside the stone. Why would ancient builders create a massive hollow space that echoes one of the most important corridors in the pyramid? Was it symbolic, structural, or something we don't fully understand yet? Because, from a modern engineering perspective, this is risky. Leaving a 30-meter empty space inside a 6 million ton structure sounds like inviting collapse. You wouldn't do that unless it served a very specific purpose. The traditional explanation says it might be a relieving chamber designed to reduce pressure. That sounds reasonable. But the pyramid already has known relieving chambers above the king's chamber, and those are smaller and precisely placed. The Big Void is different, larger, longer, positioned in a way that doesn't fully match that logic. So now we're left with a question that refuses to sit still. If this was just a tomb, why build something this complex, this hidden, and this massive with no clear function? And here's something even more unsettling. This void sat there for over 4,500 years, completely undetected, while millions studied the pyramid. It's like the structure was hiding a second layer of itself, waiting for the right technology to reveal it, because discoveries like this don't come alone. They open doors, or in this case, reveal them. So if the Big Void was only the first glimpse, what else is buried inside the stone? Just one layer deeper than we expected. But here's where things take a sharper turn. The Big Void showed up as a ghost in the data. No one had touched it, no one had seen it directly. So the next question became unavoidable. Could we actually reach one of these hidden spaces without tearing the pyramid apart? Looking through the keyhole, the 2023 corridor reveal. For years, skeptics had a comfortable argument. They said the muon scans were interesting but not proof, just statistical noise, just tiny gaps between stones, just the pyramid settling over time. It sounded reasonable, even safe. But in March 2023, that argument quietly collapsed the moment a camera slipped inside the stone. Because this time, they didn't just scan the pyramid, they looked inside it. High up on the north face of the Great Pyramid, just above the original entrance, there's a set of massive limestone blocks arranged in a V shape. They're called chevrons, long believed to be simple stress relievers. But the Muon data had been hinting at something more. Behind those stones, there was a void. Not massive like the Big Void, but still significant, about 9 meters long. Now here's where things get delicate. You can't just start drilling into one of the most famous structures on Earth, like it's a backyard wall. So the team made a move that feels almost surgical. They drilled a hole, just 6 millimeters wide, thinner than a pencil, a tiny breach in a monument that has survived 4,500 years. And then they fed a camera through it. Picture that moment. A thin cable sliding through ancient stone, inch by inch, crossing a boundary no human has touched since the time of Khufu. The light flicks on. Dust that hasn't moved in thousands of years just sits there. And suddenly, the screen shows it. A corridor, not a crack, not rubble. A real, constructed space with a clean, sloping floor and a gabled ceiling made of carefully placed limestone blocks. It looked intentional, precise, built for a purpose, even if that purpose wasn't for us. And maybe the strangest part of all, it was empty. No artifacts, no inscriptions, no hidden treasure waiting to be claimed. Just a silent, perfectly shaped corridor sealed away from the world, almost like it was never meant to be opened. But here's why this moment changed everything. That corridor matched the Muon. Scans exactly. Same position, same length, same shape, which means the technology worked. Not partially, not theoretically, but perfectly. The ghost images from before were no longer guesses. They were maps. So now the conversation shifts. Because if a 9-meter hidden corridor is real, then the much larger Big Void above the Grand Gallery becomes harder to dismiss. And more than that, it suggests something bigger, that the Great Pyramid might not be a collection of isolated chambers, but a network. Think about the effort it took to build this corridor. A gabled roof isn't the easy option. It takes planning and precision. You don't do that for a space no one will ever use, unless it serves a hidden function. So what is it? Some researchers say it could be structural, designed to redirect weight away from the entrance. That's possible. But even then, why this shape? Why this size? Why seal it completely? And why does it feel like it stops just short of something else? Because that's the detail that keeps pulling attention back. The corridor doesn't open into a chamber. It doesn't connect to a known passage. It just ends, cleanly, intentionally, like a hallway with a missing door. So now you have to ask yourself this. If this were just support, why make it so precise? If it was symbolic, why hide it completely? And if it's part of a larger system, how much of that system have we actually seen? There's a strange idea starting to grow among researchers that the pyramid might function less like a static tomb and more like a structured system with hidden channels and pressure paths. Not air or water, but stress, energy, or something we haven't fully defined yet. It sounds bold, but then again, so did the idea of a 30-meter void before 2017. So what if we're not looking at random chambers, but a hidden design language carved into stone? Imagine you were the one holding that camera. You're staring into a space, sealed longer than most civilizations have existed. No footsteps, no fingerprints, just silence. What would you expect to see at the end of that corridor? A hidden door, a second chamber, or something that completely changes the story we've been telling about the pyramid? Because now that the scans are proven, the stakes have changed. We're no longer guessing, we're following a trail. And that trail is getting deeper. The 9-meter corridor was a breakthrough, but it was only a glimpse through the keyhole. The real anomaly dominating the conversation in 2026 is far larger, far deeper, and far more intentional. So the next question isn't whether something is there, it's what's waiting behind it, and more importantly, why it was sealed so carefully in the first place. The 2026 anomaly and the sealed door. Welcome to the cutting edge of 2026. While the headlines were still obsessing over that neat little 9-meter corridor near the surface, something far more serious was unfolding quietly beneath it. No press tours, no flashy reveals, just scientists, data, and machines listening to particles that pass through stone like ghosts through walls. And what they found changes the tone of this entire story. Deep inside the core of the pyramid, far beyond what any tourist path or early explorer could ever reach, a new structure appeared on the scans. Not a crack, not a random gap, a corridor. 30 meters long, clean, deliberate, and at the end of it, nothing open. Just a solid limestone block, sitting there like a locked door that has been waiting for thousands of years. This is where things stop feeling accidental. This newly detected passage, now being called the sealed corridor, runs almost parallel to the horizontal path leading to the Queen's chamber. That detail matters more than it seems. The builders didn't just stack stones randomly. Every angle, every alignment had intent. So when a hidden corridor mirrors an existing pathway, it raises a question that hits hard. Was this part of a planned internal system rather than just empty space? The technology behind this discovery is what makes it even more convincing. These new Muon telescopes are not the early versions that gave us blurry hints. These are machines with sensitivity levels nearly 100 times stronger. They don't just detect voids, they map density, they show contrast. They let researchers see differences between solid stone and empty space in a way that feels almost like X-ray vision for mountains. And at the end of this 30-meter stretch, the signal changes sharply. The density spikes. Clean, uniform, no cracks, no irregularities. A plug, a deliberate seal. Now here's where history starts whispering something uncomfortable. In ancient Egyptian architecture, when you see a sealed plug like that, it usually means one thing: protection, not decoration, not support, protection. So naturally, the conversation shifts. Could this be connected to the long-debated hidden chamber tied to Pharaoh Khufu? For years, names like Zahi Hawass have hinted that something more exists inside the pyramid, something not yet accessed. And suddenly, this corridor feels less like a coincidence and more like a direction. But there's another theory that refuses to stay quiet. Some researchers suggest these corridors weren't meant for people at all. They may have functioned as internal construction systems, channels used to move massive granite blocks into position from within the pyramid itself. Think about that for a second. Not ramps outside, but a hidden internal mechanism, a stone machine. But if it was just engineering, why seal it so perfectly? Why close it off in a way that hides it from the outside world completely? Why build something that requires subatomic particles to even detect? That question doesn't go away. It just gets louder. And here's where it turns personal. Imagine you are the one looking at that data for the first time. You follow the corridor, pixel by pixel, meter by meter, and then suddenly it ends at a wall that no one has touched in 4,500 years. No dust disturbed, no human footprint, just silence, trapped in stone. Would you open it? And here's the twist that keeps researchers awake. What if that door was never meant to be opened from the outside at all? What if it was designed to be sealed permanently, like the final page of a story that only the builders were allowed to read? So what exactly are they protecting? Because now we're not just talking about corridors anymore. We're talking about intent, design, secrecy. And as this puzzle grows, it leads us straight into the question that refuses to sit quietly in the background. All these chambers, all these hidden pathways, all this precision. If this was truly just a tomb, where are the bodies? And more importantly, what were they really building inside the Great Pyramid? The body count, the mystery of the empty sarcophagus. It is the most famous grave on Earth, yet it feels like a stage after the actors have vanished. When Caliph Al-Mamun finally forced his way into the king's chamber in 820 AD, this wasn't just a break-in, it was history's biggest unboxing moment. Gold, relics, the body of a king, that was the expectation. Instead, sitting there in silence was a massive granite sarcophagus. No treasure, no remains, just absence. And that absence has been echoing for over 1,000 years. But here's where the story starts to slip. The official explanation says tomb robbers beat everyone to it. Simple, clean, convenient. Except it doesn't quite hold together when you look closer. The original entrance to the pyramid was sealed with enormous granite plugs, each weighing tons, blocking the passage completely. Al-Mamun didn't walk through a broken doorway. He tunneled around solid stone just to get inside. So if ancient robbers got there first, how exactly did they carry out treasure through a passage that didn't exist yet? It's like someone emptying a vault without opening the door. And that's where modern science quietly changes the tone of the story. In 2025, researchers ran an electrical resistivity tomography scan along parts of the pyramid, including the north face corridor. Think of it like giving the pyramid an X-ray, but instead of bones, it maps density and materials. What they found was almost eerie in its simplicity. The readings came back organic negative. No traces of wood, no textiles, no biological remains, just stone and air. A structure built with surgical precision, but completely stripped of anything that suggests burial. So now the question isn't just where the body went, it's whether it was ever there at all. Some Egyptologists are starting to lean toward a theory that feels almost theatrical. What if the king's chamber was never meant to hold the real burial? What if it was a decoy, a carefully designed illusion meant to mislead anyone who made it that far? Picture it like the final room in a maze that looks important, feels important, but isn't the true destination. Meanwhile, The real chamber could be hidden somewhere else, tucked away in one of these newly discovered voids and corridors that only show up under muon scans. And when you think about it, it makes a strange kind of sense. If you were the most powerful ruler of your time, would you trust your eternal resting place to a chamber that dozens of builders knew about? Or would you hide it in a place so well concealed that it takes cosmic particles passing through stone to even detect it? Here's where it gets personal. If you were Pharaoh, would you gamble your legacy on a giant granite box sitting in plain sight? Or would you disappear into a hidden chamber no one could ever reach? Do you think the king's chamber is the real deal, or just the world's most convincing decoy? And if the pyramid is hiding something deeper, something untouched, what are the chances we've been standing just meters away from it this whole time without realizing? Because the deeper you go, the stranger it gets. All these empty chambers, all these sealed corridors, all this precision with nothing inside. It starts to feel less like a tomb and more like something else entirely. And if that idea sounds uncomfortable, the next part is even harder to ignore. What if the Great Pyramid was never just a burial site? What if it was built to do something? The ghost, blueprint, the living machine. Here is the insight no one has emphasized. The Great Pyramid is not sitting still. It is quietly working, a living machine built out of stone and space. When those muon scans started peeling back the layers, something unexpected showed up. Not treasure rooms, not hidden gold. Instead, long empty corridors, including that massive 30-meter void above the Grand Gallery. At first glance, it feels like wasted space, but that's where the story flips. Because those empty spaces are doing the heaviest work in the entire pyramid. Think about the weight involved here. Around 6 million tons of limestone are stacked with precision. That kind of pressure should crush internal chambers like chalk under a boot. The Grand Gallery, with its steep angle and height, should have collapsed thousands of years ago, but it didn't. Not even a crack that matters. Why? Because those voids act like pressure valves. The scans reveal what engineers today would call a stress distribution system. The pyramid redirects its own weight, channeling force away from critical spaces. It's not just built, it's balanced. This is the ghost blueprint, hidden in plain sight. Not drawn on papyrus, but carved into the structure itself. And here's where it gets wild. These voids allow the pyramid to subtly shift over time. Tiny movements, almost invisible, but enough to absorb vibrations from earthquakes and ground settling across 4,500 years. The structure isn't rigid, it adapts. That means the real anomaly isn't a secret chamber, it's the engineering logic behind it. While people chase myths about lost technology or energy crystals, the actual evidence points somewhere sharper. The builders understood structural physics at a level we are only now visualizing with modern scanning tools. So let me ask you this. Is a room full of gold more impressive than a design that keeps a mountain standing for 40 centuries? And if you were the architect, what would you want remembered? The treasure, or the system that outlived empires? Because right now, as these scans continue, we are not just discovering rooms, we are decoding intention. And here's the part that should make you pause. The scan isn't finished yet. What happens when the entire pyramid turns transparent? What else is hiding in that blueprint? Here's where everything flips. The Great Pyramid is no longer a story carved in stone. It's a dataset unfolding in real time. As the Muon telescopes wrap up their full survey, that ghost blueprint becomes complete, layer by hidden layer. What was once sealed is now mapped, measured, and understood. But here's the real question. Are we about to find Khufu or something far more unexpected? So tell me, what do you think is behind that 2026 sealed door? And could there be more voids still hiding? Like, subscribe, and join our channel for more.